welcome back to a brand new movie review on the channel today, and welcome to the first horror movie, thank God, of 2023, the best way to start off the year. And today I'm going to be talking about the highly anticipated M3GAN. This film was directed by Gerard Johnstone, and it's the story of this little girl. She gets into a car accident with her parents tragically die, and she gets put in the custody of her aunt. And her aunt actually works at this toy store, and she designs these different toys. And she actually designs this doll, this robot, who is sort of like a companion to her that she instantly latches onto. And what they don't realize is that this AI is super smart and may be doing some nefarious things behind the scenes. So I watched this movie a week ago. I didn't have a chance to review it because I've been very busy lately making this new set behind me and just working, doing life stuff. So I didn't get the chance to review it, but I'm doing it now. And I'm going to be honest, I have some things to say about this movie because it's a very weird situation because I like this movie, but I also don't like this movie. There are a couple things I will talk about that I found very disappointing with this movie. A lot of things I liked, but I will say right now, I think this is a good movie. I think this movie is perfectly what you're going to get if you've seen the trailers. This super corny, goofball movie that's just very goofy and very funny as well. This movie is hilarious, I want to say right off the bat. I was laughing so much during this movie. There are so many little moments in the movie where I was just out loud laughing. I couldn't contain my laughter. And there was moments where it was like trying to make me laugh, that did make me laugh, but there's also something that's a negative that I will talk about later, and it's unintentional. And also looking at this movie as a slasher, it does have slasher elements to it, but I don't think 100% you should be going into the film thinking that this is only going to be a slasher and it's just going to be this crazy, just frickin' slash and frickin' dash movie where M3GAN's killing all these people. Don't go in expecting to see that. You're going to be kind of disappointed because there's not a whole lot of kills in this movie, and you know, it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. But the best thing I can say about these scenes is that they are entertaining at least. Like, there are good moments within the film. I want to talk about them a little bit more in my negative view, unfortunately, but like, they are enjoyable to a certain extent, but I have other thoughts about them that I'll talk about later. But the biggest thing I actually want to talk about this movie with it is its tone. Like I said, this movie is a very campy, goofy movie. 100%. But this movie actually has a lot of really surprising like tone differences where they try and do certain concepts in the movie that I actually thought were pretty well done actually. Like, I was very surprised. I wasn't expecting this movie to be anything like what I'm about to say, but it was. It had a lot of really deep messages to it, and I was honestly really surprised by that. This movie has a lot of messages about being a mother and like learning to be a mother and stepping up to that plate. And there's another theme they go for in this movie where it's this theme of when a child loses a loved one, they will naturally grab onto the nearest thing that kind of gives them that companionship that a mother or a father would. And how they play with this idea with M3GAN and this aunt and them constantly kind of fighting to get that role with this little girl was actually kind of really smart. I actually didn't expect the movie to go there, and it actually made for some pretty good moments that were actually kind of emotional. There's one part in the movie, I won't spoil it, during the middle sort of thing, and I actually gave a shit. Like, I actually cared, and it was weird because I wasn't expecting it, but it was actually a pretty wholesome little moment that I actually really enjoyed, surprisingly. It's kind of dumbfounding to me that this movie isn't completely awful, because like looking at the trailer, like, how could you expect this movie to be good? Like, I didn't expect this movie to even like try to be a good movie, but for the most part, I actually think this movie is pretty solid. Like, there isn't a whole lot to complain about because this movie is just like one of those fine movies. Like, this movie is just good. It has good elements to it and it's fun. It's super entertaining to watch, but of course, with all that said, there are still some bad things about this movie in my opinion. And number one, the kills. Like, this sucks because I don't want to complain about the kills, but I'm just going to say it right now. These kills kind of suck. This movie was originally supposed to be rated R, and they actually changed that. The studio did when it started getting all this buzz on the internet, and they actually changed to PG-13 to get children in the seats. And you can so clearly tell in this movie that they are just like censoring certain elements of the movie to more appeal to kids. And I'm going to say it right now, I hated it. Like, certain scenes I think could be really fun and really enjoyable, and they are fun to an extent. But I actually think the lead up to these kills is actually more enjoyable than the actual kills and payoff themselves. There's a couple okay moments, but nothing that truly stood out to me as being like really fun. Like, everything leading up to it was really great, but the actual impact of the kills themselves were not fun. There wasn't any blood, which sucked, and it could have made the movie so much more entertaining, seeing this like little Barbie freaking humanoid doll full of like just covered in blood. But we don't get that in this movie. And honestly, that was a really big bummer, and I really just didn't like it all that much. I really did not care for the kills or the violence in this movie because it was just so toned down that it almost came off as comical. And I also want to say, this movie's not a horror movie. It's not. This movie might be slightly scary to like younger children, which I think the movie's now, it's now being marketed towards, which I get. And they might find some like horror in it, but just coming from a fan of horror and seeing a whole bunch of horror movies, this movie really isn't scary. This movie has a couple tense moments, but those are just so far in between that it doesn't really even come off that way. It comes off as like a jump scare fest a little bit sometimes. Like there are a couple moments where there are a couple jump scares, and they're super predictable, they're not very inventive or interesting, and I really just didn't like the horror aspect of the movie because I just didn't think this movie was scary. This movie excels at being a comedy, but not a horror movie. And there are key moments in the movie that I think they try to make it scary, but it just comes off as funny, honestly, to me. Because it's just, they're not selling that aspect of the movie for me. The comedy aspect is there, but the horror aspect is just not there. And it really disappointed me. I really wanted to like that part of the movie, but it just was nothing to write home about. I just really didn't enjoy that part of the movie. But taking all my criticism into account, I still think this movie was a fun watch, especially in theaters. If you have like a smaller child that's really wanting to get into the horror genre, bring them to this movie. They will love this movie. I don't think this movie was made for me personally, but I think people like that will really enjoy this movie. And I could really see this being like a child's first experience with the horror genre and getting them sucked in just like I did. And that alone gives a little bit of points for me. But taking that all into account, I still think this movie is about a 6 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed my experience watching it. I enjoyed the people around me having a good time. And I like that aspect of the movie. But itself is a fun watch. It's very entertaining. But I really don't think it hits that mark for me that I was hoping it would go for, unfortunately. But yeah, that's my review of M3GAN. If you like what you saw here, please like and subscribe down below for more movie reviews and content on the channel coming pretty soon. This is the new set. You know, it's almost done. I got all this, but there's some stuff I still want to do with it. I still want to get a microphone and stuff. It's all coming. The videos will naturally just keep getting better as I slowly start to develop this set and make it better and just give you guys the best content possible. But taking that all into account, I hope you have yourself a great day.